With conditions worsening in the real global economy, the IMF officially warned of a, quote, world economic crash if the Fed raises interest rates, an expected result from a completely broken system. The question is, will they raise rates to intentionally crash the system and usher in a new monetary system? You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. The IMF made a statement here today, and before I get into it, I just want to discuss the fact that obviously the IMF is part of the globalist elite, the technocrats, but they can still point to particular indicators that are of concern. Their solutions, however, we don't have to be a fan of. So let's first get into this article here, looking out of CNBC. Emerging markets aren't just suffering through another market rout. It's the third wave of the global financial crisis. This is Goldman Sachs saying this. I'm just calling it as the financial crisis part 2. We had sort of that Lehman Brothers moment, and now today we're into part 2. But really, it's the same financial crisis. It never ended. The stock market did rise afterwards, but it was never resolved. I'm still waiting for that moment when they resolve it, but of course, I don't think I should hold my breath. Increased uncertainty about the fallout from weaker emerging market economies, lower commodity prices, and potentially higher U.S. interest rates are raising fresh concerns about the sustainability of asset price rises, making a new wave in the global financial crisis. Again, it's the same financial crisis from before. Don't make anyone have you think that this was ever over. In fact, it's really a snowball effect, because what happened, let's say in the year 2000, 2001 era, where we had a lot of turmoil, they were able to snowball that into a housing bubble and the subprime mortgages and everything else that went along with that, with the derivatives. So it's basically a continuation, and it's really just blowing continuous bubbles. Now, this is Goldman Sachs saying this. Do we have to trust what Goldman Sachs says? Well, obviously they're part of the elite. They are instrumental in setting up the bankers and their stranglehold on the economy and everything that goes within the government, and they have such a tight grip. But they do point, just like the IMF, do point to particular issues that we need to look at. So we'll take it with a grain of salt. The emerging market wave coinciding with the collapse in the commodity prices follows the US stage, which marked the fallout from the housing crash, and the European stage when the US crisis spread to the continent's sovereign debt. They're always trying to make excuses. However, the way I see it is everyone is in trouble, and it's just a matter of, this week we're looking at the US, for example, and next week it's Japan and then China. But there's they're all in this together. All countries are in massive amounts of debt. You know it. I've covered it here, and I'm sure you've done your own research. And they're trying to just point fingers just to distract you. It's all a distraction. While the mainstream media is there distracting you, the bankers are stealing your wealth. But guess what? They're all owned by the same people. Let's get to the big article of the day here. Right from the top, in many advanced economies, the main risk remains a decline of already low growth, particularly if global demand falters further and supply constraints are not removed. Now, that's saying a lot right here, so let's just move on before I give my opinion. They need continued monetary policies and improved financial stability. Let me just put that into plain English here. Continued monetary policies. What is that? That's QE4. They're asking for QE4 right here. It's pretty obvious. If you want the stock market to rise, just have another round of money printing. This is Christine Lagarde warning that the US and the UK central banks increase interest rates. The effect would be volatile. They're going to have major collapses that take place. They urge Japan and the Eurozone to maintain their quantitative easing programs to stimulate their economies. Keep printing, guys. Keep printing. Let's keep this going. We can't afford a crash right now. And then this right here at the bottom paragraph. The supportive actions by the central banks can be useful, But there are serious risks involved if governments, parliaments, public authorities, and the private sector assume central bank policies can substitute for the structural and other policies they should be taking themselves. That's right. If you're going to go ahead and print money by the central bank, that just allows the government to continue on with their reckless policies. They haven't fixed any of the problems, so central banks are there basically to support them. The principal risk is that the excessive reliance on ever more central bank action could aggravate the underlying systemic problems or delay and prevent the necessary structural adjustments. It's exactly what I just said, in fact. So this report that they had essentially outlines what has happened. You have major debt problems not being fixed. Central bank comes in, prints up some money, and that delays the inevitable. They can do this over and over again, but I don't see any way out of this mess. I just want to note something that I wrote about in my book. Governments of the past have debased and devalued their coinage by adding copper to their gold and silver coins. They continue the process until there is little or none of the original metal, eventually driving people not to accept it. This is what they've done historically many times. You can read it throughout history. I wrote a bit about it in my book. Essentially, people realize that they're holding on to garbage and they choose another type of monetary equivalent. Our paper dollars today are debased simply by printing more money. And this is the same with digital dollars as well. If they debase the dollars that we're using, eventually people stop accepting it and they go into roll forward into a new monetary system, one chosen by the people or one chosen usually by the governments. Let's look at this here. Warren Buffett, everyone loves Warren Buffett because he eats ice cream and drinks Coca-Cola. Unlike Donald Trump, Warren Buffett believes America is already amazing. That's right, everything is awesome. America's great now. It's never been greater. This is him. What he's talking about here is for himself. Of course, America has never been greater for himself. He could donate billions of dollars and still stand to be one of the richest men in the world. Warren Buffett gets the sweetheart deals. Warren Buffett has excellent things to say, though. He's talked a lot about how to profit from the stock market and so on and so forth, buy and hold strategies, invest in good, solid companies. And in many cases, I would agree with the things that he says. However, he is one of the insiders. You can't take his advice directly as it is. You can't buy every stock that Warren Buffett buys and expect to make a profit. It doesn't work like that. Never has, never will. Never trust the insiders. You can take what they say and use it to your own advantage, but never trust what they say. Never trust what anybody says, including me, including anyone else that you hear. As the presidential debate season intensifies, small business owners are pessimistic about the business climate and feel America is on the wrong track. Well, wait a minute. Warren Buffett a moment ago just said that everything is doing amazing. But 70% of small business owners believe the overall U.S. business climate is fair or poor. What's more, 6 years out of the Great Recession, 63% of those polled said the country's on the wrong track. The small business owners know this. The individuals know this. You can't hide it. Here's the poll. One poll, I've shown many here, that talk about this exact thing. This man builds luxury bomb shelters for the billionaires afraid of doomsday. Right here, this is a growing trend that many billionaires and very wealthy people are buying shelters. Well, the billionaires have the inside scoop. They know what's going on. They're concerned. So should we be concerned as well? Well, I believe that we do have many concerns to worry about. If you have the billions of dollars to throw around, well, then obviously building up a shelter is nothing for you. Why not? But a lot of them have these armored redoubts in areas, and many of them have their hideaways in New Zealand and Switzerland and all over the place. And they are preparing for something. What is that something? Well, I'll leave that up to you. They're getting ready. And in many cases, we've saw the Department of Homeland Security preparing, buying up 2 billion bullets. It's amazing what we can see. This here. police commissioner won't let the NYCLU or anyone else bully him for details about the NYPD super secret Xray vans. Of course, this is just a conspiracy theory, but let's look at what he said. They're not used to scan people for weapons. The devices we have, the vehicles, if you will, are all used lawfully. Now think about that for a second. How many times has your government been not so truthful with you? Well, I would say that there are many cases that this has occurred, documented over time. So they're saying that they're using money, the taxpayer money, and they're not going to violate your rights. However, I do believe that, this is just one example that I pulled out, but I do believe that this will be a continued situation where we just lose more and more of our liberties, at the same time taxing us into poverty. And this is just where I see everything going. Experts, selfie-obsessed millennials increasingly opt for plastic surgery. People are so concerned about how they look in pictures that they're willing to disfigure themselves. This is what really the future is. How can you expect people to ever fight back against a tyrannical government, against sort of wealth stealing in any form, or you have people that don't even realize what's happening to them with genetically modified food, with any of the fluoride in our water supply and everything else that's happening. All of these simple things that we should be alerted to, that's available to the general public. If you search out there on YouTube and Google or what have you, you have every reason to be informed, but except the people are doing the exact opposite. This is your future. You want to know what your future is? Staring you right in the face. If you found this video informative, please give me a thumbs up. For all my friends out there in Canada, just want to let you know that I'm planning on doing a video about the elections coming up. Hopefully I can get it done in time, but just want to give more of an opinion of, exactly what's going on. So hang in for that. If you found this video informative, I know you'll find my book, The Money GPS, even more informative. If you want to take a look through the book, Amazon has this look inside feature, which allows you to actually flip through the pages of the book and see if you like it. Take care.